In this video we're going to talk about how to create web pages. We're going to be learning about HTML and how we can use HTML to create a simple web page. But before we start, I've got a couple of recall to retain questions for us, so we'll just have a look at this one. So Maisie purchases a new router and attaches it to her computer. The connection she set up uses duplex data transmission. So below we've got 5 statements about duplex data transmission, and we have to just tick whether that's true or false. Okay, so give yourself a minute just to try and answer the question. Alright, ready, steady, go. Alright, so hopefully you've given yourself a minute and you've got your solution to this question. Alright, let's go through the first one. So the first one says duplex data transmission can either be serial or parallel. Okay, well of course that is true. Okay, so we tick the true box. Duplex data transmission is when data is transmitted both ways, but only one way at a time. Okay, well of course that is half duplex, so that would be false. Okay, duplex data transmission is always used to connect a device to a computer. That is also false. Okay, duplex data transmission is when data is transmitted both ways at the same time. That is true. Okay, and duplex data transmission automatically detects any errors in data. Okay, that of course is false. Okay, so there's the answer to that question about duplex data transmission. Okay, let's move on. So let's have a look at the next slide. Okay, we've got another recall to retain question here. This time this is to do with touchscreen technologies. And we know that there are 2 different types of technology that we've learned about, which is resistive or capacitive. And so what we've got is, again, 6 statements below, and we've got to tick which one applies to resistive and which one applies to capacitive. Okay, so again, I'm going to give you a minute, alright, for you to think about what your answer is going to be, and then we'll go through it together. Okay, so hopefully you paused the screen and have a video, and have had a go at answering this question. Alright, so if we have a look at the first one, the first statement says this touchscreen has multi-touch capabilities. That of course is a capacitive touchscreen that has multi-touch capabilities. Okay, this touchscreen cannot be used while wearing gloves. Okay, well again, we know that's the capacitive one. That uses the static electricity, the fact that you are an electrical conductor to work. Okay, so if you're wearing gloves, that insulates you so they don't work. Okay, then we've got this touchscreen is made up of 2 layers with a small space in between. Alright, that's going to be the resistive one. Okay, well we've already kind of answered this fourth one, haven't we? This touchscreen uses the electrical properties of the human body. That of course is a capacitive one. Okay, this touchscreen is normally cheaper to manufacture. That's going to be the resistive one. And this touchscreen has a quicker response time. That's going to be the capacitive one. Okay, so the capacitive one has a much quicker response time than the resistive one. Okay, so there you go, 6 marks for the difference between different touchscreen technologies, and hopefully that was something useful for you to recall. Okay, we've got a final recall to retain question. This time we've got a logic circuit, and your job is to create a truth table for the logic circuit. Okay, so why don't you, again, I'm going to give you a minute, so make sure you pause the video for a minute and have a go at working out the truth table for this, and then come back and we'll go through the answer together. Okay, so hopefully you gave yourself a minute. Alright, let's go through this together. Let's just identify what the different gates are. Okay, so obviously down here we've got a NOT gate. This looks like an AND gate, but it's got this circle at the front, which makes it a NAND gate. Okay, this one up here, again, looks like an OR, but it's got this line in front, which makes it an XOR. Okay, and then this one is just a traditional OR. Okay, now when we've gone through this in class, when we've gone through the steps, what we do is we label the different outputs. Okay, now it's up to you how you label them. It doesn't make any difference. So I'm going to put a D here, I'm going to put E here, I'm going to put F here, and then obviously the X is already labeled. Okay, and then so I'm going to add those columns to my table. So I've got D, E, we can put F over here. Let's do F over here, and then we've got X. Okay, so if we do D first, D is just C knotted. So I've got C going into the not gate. So I'm just going to knot the C column. All right. So knot is just the inverse, isn't it? Okay. So if it's off, it's on. If it's on, it's off. So in this case, we've got off, so it's going to be on. We've got on, so it's going to be off. There we go. So we're just going to do the inverse of what we see in the C column. Okay, so there's the column D done. Alright, so we're doing it nice. We're taking it step by step. Okay, then we'll do column E. So E, we've got B NAND with D. Now I think what helps here is I'm going to write the truth table for a NAND. Okay, so I'll do an AND first because that will help. Alright, so an AND we know is 0 0 1 1, and we'll go 0 1 0 1. Okay, so there's our combination of zeros and ones. Okay, and for an AND gate that would be 0 0 0 1. Okay, because with an AND gate it's one and the other. Okay, so we need one and the other, otherwise the whole thing's off. So if we do a NAND gate then, so the NAND gate is just the inverse of that, isn't it? Okay, so if we just do the inverse of that, what do we end up with? Well, this will be 1 1 1 0. That's the inverse. Okay, so where we've got zeros we put ones, and where we've got ones we put zeros. So that we've got the inverse. So I'm going to use that. That just helps me remember. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go B and C. So I'm comparing column B and column D, aren't I? So column B, column D. So I've got a 0 and a 1. Well, if we look at our truth table up there, that's a 1. Okay, I've got a 0 and a 1. Sorry, I've got a 0 and a 0. I'm going to have to keep my eye on this, otherwise I'm going to make lots of mistakes. Okay, I've got a 1 and a 1. Well, that's the 0, because we can see in our truth table there. Okay, I've got a 1 and a 0. Alright, well that's a 1. I've got a 0 and a 1. That's a 1. I've got 0 and a 0. That's going to be a 1. I've got 1 and 1. That's going to be a 0. And I've got 1 and 0, that's going to be a 1. Okay, so column E now then is the output from B NANDed with not C. Okay, hopefully we understand that. Okay, so now what we're going to have a go at is we'll do F. Okay, so we said F was XOR, so if we just draw the truth table for XOR. Okay, let's have a look at the truth table for XOR. Now, XOR is similar to an OR gate, but it doesn't include both of them. Okay, so it's going to be 0 1 1 0. Alright, so again, let's so this time we're going to do A and C. A and C. Okay, so we've got 0 0, so that's going to be off. We've got 0 and 1, so that's going to be on. We've got 0 and 0, that's going to be off. Alright, we've got 0 and 1, that's going to be on. We've got 1 and 0, that's going to be on. We've got 1 and 1, that's going to be off. We've got 1 and 0, that's going to be on. We've got 1 and 1, and that is going to be off. Okay, so column F now then contains the output of A XORed with C. Okay, so that's perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work out X, which is just the output from F and the output from E. Okay, so we're just going to OR these two. So we've got one, or the other, or both. So we've got 1 and 0, that's going to be a 1. We've got a 1 and 1, that's a 1. We've got 0 and 0, that's going to be off. 1 and 1, 1, 1 and 1, 1. 1 and 0, okay, that's going to be on. 0 and 1, that's going to be on. 1 and 0 is going to be on. There you go. Okay, so there is the output to that truth table. Okay, so that's the end of that question. Okay, hopefully that was a useful opportunity to recall how to do that. Okay, now we're going to move on. So today, in this video, what we're going to talk about, as I've already said, is I want us to understand how to create web pages, specifically how to create a simple web page using HTML. Okay, so we're going to start with just a little bit of recall about what we learned in the last lesson. Okay, so, or in the last video. So hopefully you understood from the last lesson, or the lesson before actually, that the internet is this network. So I've done a very simple diagram. Okay, and it doesn't represent the physical locations of things, so don't think about that. But what it is supposed to show is this network. Okay, so hopefully here you can see this network joining these devices together. Okay, and what we talked about was the fact that that network is the internet. Okay, the internet is a network of networks that spans the globe. Okay, so this diagram shows that network. Okay, and we talked about the fact that the World Wide Web, this was in the last video that I posted, that the World Wide Web is one service that uses the internet. Okay, so what we're seeing here in this diagram is these are servers. Okay, and those servers are connected to the internet, which connects them together. Okay, and you as the client, here's you as the client, you're going to be set over here. Okay, and you will send a request using, in fact, let me connect you to the internet. Let's do that again, but let's connect you to the internet. So let's put you over here. So you're connected to the internet. Okay, and what you do is you send a request. Okay, so you send a request to a web server, which is here. Okay, asking to download that web page. Okay, and then it allows you to download that web page. All right, so that's how the World Wide Web works. It's basically just a system of servers that are connected together using the internet, and on those servers is information. Okay, and I've got some a diagram here just to represent that. Okay, so on those servers is information, and the service that the World Wide Web is providing for us is it's storing that information. Okay, and what we're going to talk about today is the language that information is stored in. Okay, so we're going to talk about the language that is stored in. Okay, so here you can see this is the source code for a web page. Okay, so what I've done here, okay, is I've right-clicked on a web page and I've gone to View Page Source. Okay, so I do want you to do that once you watch the video. Okay, I want you to go to your favorite web page and right-click and go to View Page Source. Now this was a very simple web page, so it's only got very simple code that makes it up. But this shows you the HTML code that is used to create a web page. Okay, and what your browser is doing, so that's an important key word here. Okay, so it's really important to make sure that we remember that it's the browser that does that, that's doing that for us. Is the browser is translating this code. Okay, and the browser is translating this code and it's turning into what you see on the screen. Okay, so the browser is a really important piece of software when we, in terms of when we talk about the World Wide Web. Okay, now you can see these things in pink on here. We're going to talk more about those in a minute. Okay, but hopefully what you can see on here, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. All right, and hopefully what you can see is that in the black is the information, and then we're using these things in pink to mark it up. Okay, and that helps. Those markups are used to tell the browser how we want that information to look when it's displayed. Okay, and we'll talk a bit more specifically about the tags that you can see later on. Okay, so here we go. This is our first web page that we're seeing here. Okay, and these are two tags. Okay, so tags are instructions. They tell the browser. The browser's going to look at those, and the browser's going to see that it's in this less than symbol and the greater than symbol. Okay, and because it's in a less than symbol and a greater than, because it's in a less than symbol and a greater than symbol, the computer is going to look at that and know that it's an instruction. Okay, and this specific instruction just tells the computer that what we're going to create after this, okay, is going to be HTML. So we are just telling the computer that we are creating a HTML web page. So the language that we are using is HTML. Okay, now you will notice this at the bottom. Okay, so most tags, not all of them, but most tags, most of these instructions require you to put one at the start, okay, to highlight where you are starting to use it, and then they also require you to put one at the end. So this tells you when you're stopping using it. Okay, so this is a open, we could almost say this is an open tag, and then this is a close tag. Okay, now hopefully you can spot the difference between an open tag and a close tag. Okay, so the difference is that with this one, the close tag has just got a slash in it. Alright, so the difference between an open tag and a close tag is just that slash. Alright, and so most tags require you to open it and close it, but not all of them do. Alright, So as you meet tags, you will understand which ones require you to open them and which ones require you to and which ones require you to open and close them. All right. One that just requires you to open it is the image tag. Okay, so you use the image tag, and you're not required to have a close image tag. But most of them require you to have the open tag and the close tag as well. All right, so that's the first tag that you're going to start with. We're then going to move on. Okay, and so what we're seeing here now then is the structure of our web page. Now, a web page is made up of two parts. All right, it's made up of the head and it's made up of the body. Now, the head is not displayed, so all of the information that you put in the head of your web page is not information that's going to be displayed. It's basically used to tell anyone that wants to. It's basically used to tell any machine that is storing this web page. It just provides them with information about the web page. Okay, so your browser is going to interpret this information, and it's going to use this information to find out about the web page. Okay, so in this situation, you can see that the head is telling anyone that is reading this code, is telling us the title of the web page. Okay, so we're using the title of the web page here. Okay, and again, you can see that I've got an open tag here, and I've got a close tag here. Again, I've got an open tag here and a close tag here. Alright, why do I need the open and close tag? Because it tells me where the head starts and where it ends. It tells me where the title starts and where the title ends. Alright, so it's really important that I have that open tag and the close tag in that situation. Okay, so none of the information in the head of your document is going to be displayed. As I said, the head is just used to provide information about the web page. Okay, so next, after the head, this is the second part of our web page. All right, is we've got probably the most important part. This is the part that's going to be displayed, is the body of your web page. Okay, so here is the body of the web page, and we define where the body starts and ends using the body tag and the close body tag again. All right, so we've got the open body tag and the closed body tag. All right, and then anything inside here where it says this is my first web page, anything inside there will be displayed on the web page. So we will see that displayed. So we will see on the web page, it will say this is my first web page. Okay, and that's the basic structure of a web page. Okay, you can use that. You can take that now. You can put that into a text editor such as Notepad++. Okay, and you can create your own web pages just using the information I've given you so far. Okay, but we will do a little bit more. Okay, so if we just move on to the next slide. Okay, so this side, the structure is exactly the same. So you can see that I've created my structure, but I've now introduced a new tag. Okay, so this time I've introduced you to the heading tag. This is the heading tag. Okay, so this just tells the computer that I want to turn anything in between the open and close tag. So anything in between here and here, I want to turn into a heading. Okay, and it just makes it larger. So I'm going to turn, this is my first web page, is going to become a heading. And you can experiment because there are different headings. Okay, so I'm using H1 here, but I want you to experiment with different numbers in there. So you can try any number from 1 to 6 and have a go at understanding what happens when you put a different number in there. Okay, I'm sure you can predict what you think is going to happen, but just give it a go and see if you can work out and come back and tell me what happens when you use a different number in there. Okay, the other tag I want you to try, so I'll just give you a couple more tags. Okay, there's the P tag. Alright, this is used to define your paragraphs. Okay, so when you want to put in a large body of text, use the P tag to break it up. Alright, for the paragraphs. Okay, so hopefully well, no, not hopefully, that is enough information to help you create a very simple web page. Alright, so what I want you to do is go off and have a go at creating a web page. Alright, good luck.